Last time out, 8 manufacturers and almost 40 riders brought their machines to the opening round at Phillip Island. 39 starters as the lights come on. We're away for 2017. It was privateer Daniel Falzon that made it a hat-trick against the big factory-backed teams though, clean sweeping the round and starting 2017 with a maximum points haul at the first round.
2 corners to go. Maxwell's given it everything he's got. He's got that thing sliding sideways through the last corner. Oh, he had a bit of a moment there, did Maxwell. He's got a gap. Is it enough?
Well, if anything, that's going to cost him a few tenths of a second as they come to the line. Maxwell will take the win on the road. Allison in second, bugged and Falzon, there was nothing between it. But at the checkered flag, it is Daniel Falzon takes the win on combined times. 2016 champion Troy Herfoss didn't get the start he would have wanted, but as we head to Wakefield Park, he will be looking to come out on top with the home track advantage firmly on his side. This is round 2 of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship presented by Motul Pirelli.
Hello everyone and welcome to round 2 here at Wakefield Park of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship presented by Motul Pirelli. I'm Emma Francesco, joined by Steve Martin. And Steve, it has been a sensational start to this championship.
It certainly has. Who would have thought that Daniel Falzon, the privateer rider, could have got a pole position and 3 wins at that Phillip Island round? It was a real incredible thing to watch, and apart from that, racing in all classes was sensational.
So it certainly was action-packed at Phillip Island, and Wakefield Park, Steve, so far it has been pretty wet.
Yeah, the conditions over the whole weekend have been very tricky. Dry 1 minute, wet the next. But it was Troy Herfoss from Cranked Protein Honda that got the pole position, just as he did last year. The number 1 plate starts on pole position again. But Glenn Allerton, unfortunately for him, won't be here this weekend. He had a bit of an accident on Friday and broke his arm, so not a good start for Yamaha.
It certainly is a tricky track and lots of stop and start as well here, Steve-O.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it's bumpy, it's slippery, it's a very tight track as well. You have to be really careful. You have to own the racetrack at a place like this. You can't afford to rest. There's no rest. You've got to be fit. It's an aggressive racetrack.
Hey, I'm Josh Waters, rider for Team Suzuki X-Star. I'm going to take you for a lap of Wakefield Park and show you the places that I find the most difficult. The place that we're standing at the moment is between turn 1 and 2. So on the Superbike, I hit 4th gear. I'm on the limiter, which is over 14,500 RPM, high 200s, go back 2 gears, and if it's wet like it is at the moment, these shiny patches on the track are like ice. So they're the bits that all of us riders have to watch out for in this part of the circuit. We're now at the top of the hill, turn 5, an extremely important part of the track. This run is down to turn 8, which so much time can be made up. Riding these super bikes, which have got over 200 horsepower at the rear wheel, the bikes really want to spit you off out of here. Very physical, and so, like I said, so much time can be made up through this section of the track. The entry into turn 8 is a great overtaking opportunity. You have to make sure you cover your line, but then you also have to make sure you keep up the speed. If you cover your line too much, it kills your speed on the exit out of here, which is another important part of the circuit. A big thing into turn 9 is not to run too wide, because that makes turn 10 so difficult. Turn 10 is an extremely important part of the circuit because it runs down into the final turn of the track. 2004 was the last time I raced here, and from what I remember, it was a dogfight into this turn. I'm sure the racing this weekend is just going to be the same. There's so many different lines that you can take into this turn. The big important part of the track though is this run onto the main straight, the start-finish line. It can be won or lost there.
At Wakefield Park this weekend, we've got a couple of Goulburn locals, one of which is reigning champion, Troy Herfoss.
I love coming to Goulburn and showing my friends and family what it's all about. And it's a fun little track. You get close to the action and it's quite enjoyable. Obviously, the conditions in Goulburn change a lot, as we know, but that makes for exciting racing too, so it's a win-win situation. It's a lot different to like a GP style track. It's quite rough and it's used a lot really, Wakefield Park, so it's got quite a lot of bumps in it. The curbs are rather high. It's really tight, so it's not your normal sort of road race track, but it makes for a really difficult and challenging race, especially on a superbike when you've got somewhere between 160 and 200 horsepower. On such a small track, it makes the bike feel a lot bigger than it does at Phillip Island, so physically it's quite hard, and obviously here you can get close to the action. That's the best part about it. It's funny, like over the years, I guess now I've done quite a few laps. When we first started coming here with ASBK, it wasn't probably the case, but I think it just suits me, this track. It's not so much it's not my home track, and that brings me up. I just like the tighter tracks, and but in saying that, you don't want to, like I said last year, I don't want to go to my own party tonight on Sunday night as a loser. So I don't want my mates making jokes on me, so I've got to make sure I put on a good show.
Another local boy is young gun Tom Taparis aboard his Cube Racing Kawasaki.
Obviously this track is really close to my house. It's only 10 minutes, but saying that, I haven't done as many laps around here as I would have liked. I have done a couple of track days out here previously, previous to this round, but since last year on the 300, I've really only done like 2 days, but still the track, we've gone from the fastest track on the calendar by far to the slowest track, but it's interesting to see some of the riders' abilities and how they can be so fast at Phillip Island and then not so good here, but some of the riders that aren't good at Phillip Island and then fast here. It evens itself out, and that's how we'll see it to the championship. But yeah, it is good to be at my home track again, and yeah, I do feel like it's probably good for me to hopefully get a good result here in front of my friends and family, and that's probably a little bit of an advantage to have them on the sidelines. But yeah, it's still a race, and the other guys are all really fast still. I've got Troy Herfoss and Troy Bayless in my pit all the time, and it's just good. Like, they've been on the wall and talking to Chris, my suspension man, and talking about the setup, and that's been a real help to me this weekend. Still got a fair bit of time to work on the bikes for the races, but they're always here helping out, and yeah, it's really good, especially because I'm relatively inexperienced compared to some of the other riders in my class. But yeah, again, it's really good to have them with me.
Well, the riders have made their way to the grid for this first YMI Superbike race of the day at round 2 of the 2017 Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championships. 2.2 kilometres of Wakefield Park awaits the riders. Let's go down to Emma and Steve, who are on the grid.
Daniel Falzon, before you came into this weekend, I heard you saying you knew you had a target on your back, and I tell you what, the competition has been pretty tight, hasn't it?
Yeah, as expected, always in the Australian Superbikes, the competition's extremely tight, and especially at Wakefield Park being a short circuit, the lap times are always close. Goulburn's thrown whatever weather it could at us this weekend, and I feel like we're strong in all conditions, but for us it's about staying on the bike at a track that is synonymous for a lot of crashes.
We had plenty happening yesterday, of course, in that qualifying session as well, because as you said, the weather is ever changing. It's just starting to spit.
Yeah, that's actually good for me. I'm on wet tyres. I think some people may go the gamble, but I'm praying for a bit more rain right now.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks, Anna.
Bo Beaton, the Races Edge Ducati is looking really good at the moment. 6th position, great qualifying for you, but I'm looking at the track conditions. I don't know if it's wet or dry. You tell me.
Look, it is. There's some sections of the track that are drying, but it'll be a fair risk going out on dry tyres. So, look, everyone looks to be going for the wet option, and yeah, it's a really hard gamble to take, especially at a track like Wakefield. The surface isn't the best of surfaces, so it'll be a very, very tough gig on dry tyres.
What are you going to do? Are you going to take it easy in the opening laps or go for it?
No, look, I think it's a long race. It's 20 laps, and we'll ease ourselves in on the Bridgestone wets. We're new to the tyres, and I think they're doing a great thing for us. So we'll just work our way into it and just stay out of trouble for the first few laps.
Give it your best shot.
Josh Waters, I tell you what, you had a tough time at Phillip Island. The bike was only ready a few days before, but how's it looking now?
It's not bad. Unfortunately, we haven't got a lot more parts for the bike, so the bike's not a lot different, but I've got a race meeting under my belt. I got to do a couple of ride days, so I'm feeling better. I'm not sure about this weather that Goulburn served up for us this weekend. So same for everyone, but I'll try my hardest. It's just so dodgy out there.
Thanks, Josh. Good luck as we get ready for race number 1 for the Superbikes. Back up to you in the booth.
Thanks very much, Emma. And big news here at Wakefield Park. Our pole sitter, Troy Herfoss, has come back to the pits and is now one of a few riders that we believe will be taking to the track on slicks. Wayne Maxwell and Crew Halliday will line up on the front row of the grid, along with Daniel Fowles and Josh Waters and Bo Beaton on row 2. Row 3 sees Brian Starring, the second of the Team Honda riders, Robbie Bugden and Kyle Buckley on their BC Performance Kawasaki's. And on row 4 it is Troy Gunther, Matt Walters and Callum Spriggs. Next row is Michael Blair, Mitch Levy and Josh Hook, who may also be on slicks from what we're hearing with a last minute tyre change down on the pits. Adam Senior, Corey Turner and Jack Baker on the next row. Then it's Brendan McIntyre, Aidan Coote, who could also be on slicks, was seen working around the rear of his machine, Nathan Spiteri, Ashley Fleming, and the grid rounded out by Hamish McMurray. And with that last minute bike change to a dry weather setup, Troy Herfoss will start from the back of the grid in this first Superbike race for today. Good start there from Wayne Maxwell from the front row of the grid. Michael Blair also got a great start on board bike number 178. But it is the 3 Yamahas up the front with Josh Waters making his presence felt on the Suzuki X-Star machine as well as they drive up the YMF straight to the top of the hill for the first time.
Yeah, Bo Beaton there in 4th position. Well, but look at Josh Waters up the inside. He is on fire at the moment. He's really coming to grips with that new GSXR. It's the same spec as it was at Phillip Island. No new bits have arrived from Japan yet, so it's still not at its full potential, but Josh Waters is giving everything it's got. And let's not forget that he's a bit of a specialist in these conditions.
He is too, and he's also said he's got a lot more time on the bike, which has helped him really adapt to the brand new Suzuki as well, because it is considerably changed, as you'd know, Steve, from the previous model. And Josh Waters doing a great job there to get up into 3rd place early on. But Bo Beaton on fire early on the Bridgestone shot machine. Matty Walters also getting a great start. He started out of position number 10 on the 4th row of the grid and has moved up now into a very strong position.
Look at Herfoss.
How far is he up the grid already?
I told you. Honda are doing some backslapping right now. If it doesn't rain, Herfoss is in the box seat to take this out.
Well, Bo Beaton's got his hands full with Crew Halliday at the moment as they make their way around through this very tricky area of the circuit. Beaton down the inside of Crew Halliday. Halliday looked like he was struggling on a little bit to get the bike turned in there on the brakes into the Motul corner.
The thing with conditions like this, when you've got the wet weather tyres on, the quicker you can get up to speed, the better you are, because some guys take longer than others, and obviously Crew's probably going to get to that lap time in the end, but he needs to get there now.
Well, then the big question is too, Steve, the wet weather tyres with a dry track, they're not going to last 20 laps, are they? They're going to be destroyed before the other 20-lap race distance, especially if the track continues to be as dry as this or continues to dry out even more, and the wind is assisting with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at Herfoss now. He's already up to 6. He's only 3 seconds off the lead. And just look at, you watch the red Honda when it gets the drive out of the corners onto the straight. He'll be passing these guys pretty quickly, already past Waters. Waters is back now. There's Bo Beaton having one of his best starts in the Australian Superbike class off 6. You know, I think Herfoss will be feeling pretty lucky, but he's got a long way to go. 20 laps around here is quite long.
And also he's up into 2nd place now. It looks like Troy Herfoss as he made his way past Daniel Fowles. Here's a pretty good battle with Crew Halliday, Matt Walters, Callum Spriggs. Big dive on the Desmo Sport Ducati to try and get up the inside of the rider from Cessnock there. Couldn't quite do it. Josh Hook on board bike number 16. That's a bike from Cessnock. It's Phil Lovett's old machine that is probably, about 3 or 4 years old. The previous generation Kawasaki ZX-10. Hookie was struggling with the front end feel on that bike in the dry conditions, but the way he has just charged up the hill and rounded up Callum Spriggs, looks like whatever was wrong with it, they've managed to fix.
Jason Crump's helping out Josh Hook, and I reckon that Jason would have said to Hookie, yeah, put some slicks on, a bit of sliding doesn't hurt.
Well, here goes Hookie down the inside of Matt Walters, squeezes his way up the inside. There's Josh Hook.
Yeah, Hook's another one with slicks on, so great move by him.
Well, he's also got Jamie Stouffer down there working with him in the pits as well. So his former teammate Jamie Stouffer are pretty handy on the spanners as well.
Yeah, I mean, what is he, a 2-time Australian champion and also
2-time Supersport.
Yep, and not only that, you know, world champion Jason Crump. That's not a bad pit crew.
No, that's right. And Hookie there wearing his FCC TSR leathers from last year's campaign on the Japanese Superbike Championship. Come back to Australia with a lot of experience under his belt, and he's now moving well and truly up the field, getting the better of Robbie Bugden.
Yeah, Hookie's now moved up to 6th position, which is good. Herfoss is taking the lead now, though. Herfoss is, after 3 laps, is already 3 seconds a lap quicker than everybody else.
Well, that was only a matter of time for Troy Herfoss, the way he started those first couple of laps, I expected him to actually be a bit slower in the first few laps, Steve, but his pace over the first 2 laps was unbelievable.
Mate, when I looked at the track out there on the grid, I was thinking to myself, I would think that I would be putting slicks on there because it always looks tricky, and the rider, when it's a little bit wet, always wants to go with the safe option. But with this 20-lap race, the safe option turns out to be the slower option. Look at the black lines that they're leaving now into the corners. And Herfoss is 3 seconds off of a dry lap time. He's doing 63s, and they do 5 seconds 58s when it's completely dry. But he's cruising at the moment.
Yeah, Troy Herfoss in the lead, but moving up into second place, the big mover is Bo Beaton. On board the Races Performance North Coast V Twins. Ducati Panigale, the bike built by Craig McMartin, the multiple Australian champion, as he moves up into second place. Brian Starring at the moment has got his hands full because he's got Adam Senior, the man from Western Australia, and young Jack Baker from Queensland right on his tail. And Honda, Yamaha and Kawasaki having a real good dice here.
Aidan Coote, the other guy with slicks on, has also moved up into the top 10. He's in 9th position at the moment, so Aidan Coote doing a great job on his Kawasaki.
And those guys with slicks are going to get quicker and quicker as this race goes on because the grip will certainly go away from the runners all running the wet weather tyres as the tyres start to shred themselves. We've also got Pirelli and Bridgestone in positions number 1 and 2 as well, with that tyre battle going on with this in this class. And just looking back, Robbie Bugden would be the first of our Dunlop runners in position number 5 at the moment. And they keep this sort of pace up. The wet weather guys doing 105s on wet weather tyres. They'll be slicks very shortly, Steve, because all of the tread will be gone from them.
Yeah, pretty much. If it doesn't rain, the guys with the wet weather tyres on will end up dropping about 5 seconds a lap at least. I mean, Bo Beaton now's at a 105, 5 seconds a lap slower than Troy Herfoss.
Well, Herfoss down to a 62nd 0.8 lap on that last tour of the 2.2 kilometre Wakefield Park circuit. It's only got 10 corners, but there is no rest around this circuit.
Jack Baker, I think that was, on the number 99 Crazy Dogs Kawasaki, got a little bit crazy himself.
He certainly did. That was a massive moment there, and I think it might take young Jack a second or two to calm down. He's a big fella, but I'll tell you what, he's still only 16 or 17 years of age. Here's a replay of it. Oh, that's a big moment, and he did well to try and hang on to that one as well. Well, starring up the inside of Aidan Coote there. Remember, Aidan Coote has got slicks on. Just looking at Ryan Starring's machine.
It looks like Starring possibly has slicks too, but it's just, I don't know, maybe your eyes are better than mine, but...
I was just thinking the same thing. It looked like slicks to me. And I was just looking at Adam Senior's machine. He looked to be having slicks on his bike as well.
Here we go. Look at
Falzon. Swapped over to the other slick shot machine.
That's a smart move.
But he's had some problem there with the bike. Looks like it's stalled and couldn't get it into gear. And he is now out on track. He's going to lose a lot of positions, but he's going to be very fast over the latter stages of this race.
If he was going to do it, he needed to do it as soon as Herfoss hit the front, though, to give it the most benefit, if you know what I mean.
Well, Hook has gone up into second place ahead of Bo Beaton, so it's Josh Hook up into second place on board the privateer machine here this weekend. Great job from Josh Hook.
Yeah, this is a sensational job by Josh Hook and the team. He didn't even know that he was going to be riding until halfway through last week.
Actually, yes, Hook has gone into third position because Bo Beaton has slipped back to fourth. The man that's been the big mover over the last couple of laps is Robbie Bugden. And looking at Bugden's time of 101.7, wouldn't be surprised to see that Bugden has actually put slicks on board his Kawasaki BC Performance machine as well. As we watch the two rookies there, Kyle Buckley on 83 and Mitch Levy on 68, have a real ding-dong battle. Both of them doing an absolutely spectacular job in stepping up from Supersport to Superbike for 2017.
Yeah, absolutely, and it hasn't been an easy weekend for either of these two boys. They're now getting the new GSXR ready for Josh Waters. They want to be calling him in.
Well, I just noticed that Michael Blair's spare bike was also being wheeled out with the slick tyres in it as well. As we see still a few little puddles getting put up there as the riders come out of the final corner, the Yamaha corner, and onto the YMF straight. So there is still a few little patches of water around this circuit.
Not enough to worry the guys. Like, the corners here dry, and the wettest part of the circuit, believe it or not, is actually the start-finish straight. And that's what happens. The guys look, I mean, see what you can see there. That's actually dry. That's the nature of this circuit. It really doesn't take much. Bo Beaton there just going past number 37.
As we approach half-race distance, Josh Waters into the pits to swap bikes to a dry weather setup. Join us on the other side of this break for the exciting conclusion of race 1. Welcome Welcome back to Wakefield Park in this extremely exciting first race of the second round of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championships as we look at Brian Starry starting to make his way through the field after a cautious start on a track that still had a lot of wet patches.
Starring's definitely on slicks. He's 101.4 as well, so anyone 61s or better are on slicks. Mitch Levy there, trying to find a way through now.
There goes Starring up the inside of Levy, up the inside of Crew Halliday as well. Look at his speed up the hill there as Halliday looks to be, well, he looks like he's definitely on wet weather tyres. He's struggled to try and get the bike turned into corners as the grip levels on those wet weather tyres have virtually pretty much gone now as he's got his hands full with a couple of riders behind. But here comes Troy Herfoss about to put more laps on Matt Walters, who's still out there, it looks like, on the wet weather tyres on board the Swan Insurance Repsol Kawasaki.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing as well. The difference when you're riding around on the wet weather tyre in the dry, and it does happen. The amount of extra drive that you get with the slick tyre, you just go past the guys like they're standing still. We're seeing Herfoss there. It's a great indication of that difference. And there's Crew Halliday having a bit of a battle of his own with the number 68, of course.
Yeah, Mitch Levy on his Yamaha, two privateer Yamaha R1s. Kyle Buckley just ahead of them on board the 83 machine. And Troy Herfoss literally at lapping at 1 minute 2. He looks like he's riding down the shops to get a carton of milk, Steve. He's just literally cruising to victory with a 16.4 second lead over Robbie Bugden, who is holding down second position at the moment. Bugden in turn has got 2.2 seconds lead over Josh Hook on board bike number 16. And if you had told Josh Hook at the beginning of today, when he had a furrowed look on his brow that he would be finishing this race in third position, he would have said, I'll take that, thanks very much, because I know yesterday afternoon he was not happy. They couldn't figure out what the problems were with the bike, the way it was handling. But today, it's whatever they've done last night, it seemed to work.
When you're a guy like Josh Hook, you need to take chances and things need to come together. This is a crazy race, and he took the chance, and it's paying off for him. He's up onto the podium position, and it is an incredible ride by him and his team that were through together at the last moment.
Now, just looking at Bo Beaton's lap times, he's currently sitting in 5th position, but he's lapping in the 104s, and he has done, that's about very similar to his fastest lap of the race. Would he still be on wet tyres?
No, he's still on wet tyres, yeah. He hasn't pulled in. He's a long way back now. He's got to keep his fingers crossed that the guys that pulled in for slicks don't catch him up. And let's have a look and see who's behind him. Maxwell's also still on slicks. He's doing a 105 at the moment.
And Aidan Coote is the next rider behind Bo Beaton, about 2.8 seconds behind, but he is on slicks. Adam Senior is clearly on slicks. He's up to 5th position now. Adam Senior, the Western Australian, putting in a great ride on board his number 77 Yamaha as he catches up to this battle between Mitch Levy, Kyle Buckley, and Bo Beaton's also in that one as well. But Bo Beaton's doing a miraculous job considering the wet weather tyres to be holding down the pace and consistent pace that he is.
Absolutely. The lap times that Adam Senior are doing is 104s. I could conceivably say that he's also probably the leader of the wet tyre men at the moment.
Well, I think Beaton's actually just gone back ahead of Adam Senior there. Looks like the lap traffic has balked Senior, and Beaton's taken full advantage as he throws the big right boot out to get turned into the corner. Senior says, thanks very much, I'll come back up the inside.
Yeah, Senior's on slicks. He's just doing 104s on slicks. But yeah, Beaton's, he's definitely, working those Bridgestone wets to the limit out there now.
And here comes Aidan Coote on 66 as well.
Yep, looking for a way past. Moves in front of Bo Beaton.
And I reckon he'll get Adam Senior on the drive up the hill as well with the extra drive out of Motul Corner. Here, look at Aidan Coote making his way through, but Bo Beaton and Senior having a great battle there. You can see that Bo was struggling to get the Panigale turned in, and Senior just dove down the inside.
Yeah, absolutely no grip on the edge of the tyre there, and he just had to let him go through.
Well, 17 laps down for our race leader, Troy Herfoss. 3 laps to go in this 20-lap race. Herfoss, the current leader, by 12.3 seconds. He's just knocked the pace back a fraction. His last lap, Steve, was a 103.266. Probably a fair bit to do with the traffic that he's got to endure at the moment as well.
And not only that, he doesn't want to make a meal of it. Here last year, he was leading the last race of the day, and he got caught up with a back marker and ran off while he was in the lead. So he doesn't want to make that mistake again. He wants to get maximum points here. He needs as many points as he can in this championship, and everybody, the major contenders have all had issues, so including Herfoss himself, so he knows that he cannot afford to make a mistake now.
Well, he's just made his way past Mitch Levy. Troy Herfoss, our race leader. The man that's, grew up at Goulburn, but spent many years here, as you said, but now currently resides on the Gold Coast. Yeah, and he's come back to Goulburn, and gee, I'll tell you what, he's happy to see all of his old friends, and he's putting on a performance for them this weekend.
Yeah, he's obviously, he lives pretty much just a few kilometres over the top of the hill at the back of the circuit there. I was lucky enough to go to his house. Oh, that's what he doesn't need to happen. He needs to stay out of trouble, and you can see him now. He's backed it off. He thought he could nip through there, but he's going to wait until there's a safe moment. Round the outside now on the change of direction, just gets bow beaten.
Yeah, it was almost off the circuit there, Troy Herfoss, and even though the track is dry, the grass would still be really wet. We saw someone fall off before, Steve. They seemed to accelerate when they got onto the grass.
Yeah, you don't want to end up in the grass because it's been drizzling pretty much all weekend. Although the track dries up, the grass doesn't.
So Herfoss is our race leader. Bugden still holding down second position. He has got a pretty handy lead of about 8 seconds over Josh Hook, who is in third, who in turn has 20 seconds over Brian Starring, who is now in fourth place on board the second of the Crank Protein Hondas. Adam Senior is still holding down fifth position. Aidan Coote is right with him as well, and they're doing very similar lap times. In fact, Aidan Coote did his fastest lap of the race on the last lap. And speaking of last laps, it is the last lap now for our race leader, Troy Herfoss. He's only got about 1 kilometre to go as he makes his way down through the Yamaha corner and into the bottom of the hill there at the Fish Hook, one of the trickiest corners on the circuit, but a lot less tricky now with dry conditions than what it started out at the early parts of today's program.
Yeah, absolutely. Herfoss now, like you say, 8 second gap, and he's pretty much got this one in the bag. He's already waving his hand, looking over his shoulder. He knows this is going to count. This is a great victory for Herfoss.
Well, as I said, the best ever mistake by Team Honda, but then again, I don't reckon it was a mistake. I reckon they were playing their cards very close to their chest, and Herfoss will take the win in Superbike Race 1 for the YMI Superbike class. He's already celebrating as he comes across the line, stands up and gives the crowd the signal as he goes across the line. He is number one. A great result for Troy Herfoss, and Robbie Bugden should come round to take second position. 3.9 seconds behind. He caught up a fair bit on the last lap as Troy Herfoss spent the last half of the last lap celebrating a fantastic victory. In fact, he did a 106.2 on the last lap, Troy Herfoss.
With his hands in the air.
Well, the wizard on wheels, the governor of Goulburn. Call him what you like, but he's certainly been a star here at his home track today. And a miraculous performance, taking a big gamble at the start using those slick tyres, but it all came good for him and the Crank Protein Honda team in the end. They take a 3.9 second victory over Robbie Bugden on the BC Performance Kawasaki, and Josh Hook, that last minute slick change for him working as well with a fine third place. Brian Starring, Aidan Coote, Adam Senior, Bo Beaton, Wayne Maxwell, Daniel Falzon and Jack Baker round out our top 10.
We had the option of doing the 2 white laps, and I asked the guys if the decision's mine for dry or wet tyres, and they said yes, and I made the decision for dries, and I come in and the look in their face, I didn't back myself. And I waited there, and then I missed the outlap, which was very tight. And anyway, I took that as a sign. So slicks it was, and it was really scary in the first few laps. I didn't know who was on wets or slicks. Yeah, credit to the Crank Protein Honda team. I'm just really happy to get a win, and race 2. Hopefully the weather will be a bit more predictable.
Oh, that was a tough one. It was certainly a roll of dice there early on. It could have gone either way. There was that shower coming over, and if that was a bit heavier, I think we could have been in all sorts of trouble. But everyone's doing such an amazing job, and to be up here on the podium, second place, that's a great result, and we'll see if we can back it up for the next one.
I was sitting back there on the grid, sweating like a pack of cats at the ground, mate. I didn't know what the weather was going to do, so we went with slicks, and the track came dry within a couple of laps, so we'll be able to get stuck into it straight away. So sort of only decided I was going to race on Tuesday, so borrowed a bike from Phil Lovett, and now we're on the podium, so I couldn't ask for a better day, really.
Desmo Sport Ducati are back with a vengeance in 2017, and I get to have a chat to Troy Bayliss and his brand new recruit, Callum Spriggs.
I've been riding for Ducati since 1998. I started off in the British Superbike Championship, found myself on board with the World Superbike guys, and I have to say, had a brilliant career with them people, and I feel like I was riding the best bike with the best team, and so naturally the results came along with that. And some of the best time of my life, and I'm still very happy to be heavily involved with the guys, and they give us support here to help run us the Desmo Sport Ducati in the Australian Championship as well. Of course, everybody knows that Mike done a great job last year, Mike Jones, and he's found himself in the junior Aruba team for the Superstock National Championship next year, European Championship. So we of course had to fill that seat, and Callum Spriggs is a guy I know well, and he's been strong over the years in 600 Supersport, always been at the front of the field. So he's a race winner, so naturally we think that Cal can be a good rider on our bike and give some good results, and I believe that he can run amongst the top guys towards mid-season.
Yeah, well, it's been a pretty big journey so far. Like, I've stepped up from the Supersports. I spent 5 years racing in that championship, and yeah, I've been very lucky from Troy Bayliss and Ben Henry to pick me up from the Ducati. I sort of was always going to be stepping up to the Superbike class, and actually brought a ZX10 to race for this year. And then Mike Jones got an offer to ride overseas in the World Supersport Championship. And then that left the door open for me to hop on the Desmo Sport Ducati, and Troy gave me a call and said, would you be interested in riding the Ducati? I was like, yeah, for sure, it's going to be awesome. Yeah, there's good people around it, so I'm sure we'll be able to get hopefully towards the front towards the end of the season, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to the challenge.
He's had international success, has been a part of ASBK before for many years. His name is Mike Jones, and we caught up with him at Phillip Island.
It's been a long time that I've been riding motorbikes and racing, and I've been competing in the Australian Superbike Championship since around 2009, so it's been a long time I've been involved in the championship. For me, the highlights have been winning the Superstock 600 Championship and also the Australian Superbike Championship. To be able to arrive now in the European Superstock 1000 Championship with the Aruba Ducati racing team is quite an achievement for me, and I'm really looking forward to the 2017 season.
Welcome back to Wakefield Park and the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championships, round 2 of the 2017 season. The weather gods have thrown another curveball at us, and this time it's the opportunity for the local Supersport riders to show their wet weather prowess. Let's go down to Emma, who's on the grid.
I'm down here with Mark Kyoto. Mark, pretty clear in front of you.
Yeah, it's pretty clear relatively, but there's a lot of clouds and a lot of rain. So I think that's going to play a big part in the race today.
How did you feel out there at the warm-up this morning? Obviously, these wet conditions are tricky for everyone.
Yeah, I just took it easy and, got used to it to see what it's like. Yeah, it's very dodgy, and along with the track being a bit dodgy as well. So, yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I'm not too sure yet.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm down here with Tom Taparis, and Tom, I've got to say, mate, congratulations, pole position, your first year in Supersport. How are you feeling going into this race? Pretty nerve-wracking.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, definitely a good day yesterday. Put it on pole, and that was in a tricky situation with the weather conditions. But yeah, we've woken up and it's a wet track. But warm-up this morning was pretty positive, and I feel pretty comfortable, and hopefully I can get a good result and start off the day.
Best of luck, mate.
Thank you.
Well, Mason Coot, our championship leader, obviously a little bit further back than where you wanted to be.
Yeah, it's been a challenging weekend. The boys in the pits have been amazing. The ARC Racing team, we've been pretty strong in the wet all weekend, so hopefully we can move forward. And the dry's been a challenge, but I'm pretty confident in the wet.
Good luck, Mason. Well, it's back up to you boys in the booth.
Thanks very much, Emma. And as you can see, conditions on the grid are not real flash here at Wakefield Park, and it's going to be very, very tricky for our Supersport riders. Tom Taparis will start from pole position, his first ever pole position in only his second ever Supersport race. A fantastic effort for the Cube Racing rider. Mark Kyoto was second on the grid, Sam Muldoon in third, Ted Collins on the second row, along with Nick Leamington and Chris Quinn. We're ready for a start. Let's go racing. Lights are on and we're away. Taparis gets a good start, but so does Sam Muldoon. We've got someone stalled on the grid there by the look of it. But Sam Muldoon will lead them down into turn 1 with Ted Collins right on his tail on board the Next Gen Motorsport Suzuki bike number 5. There's Chris Quinn on the outside there. You can see having a good battle a little bit further back in the pack, but it is Muldoon and Collins that lead the field up towards the top of the hill there as they go through Pirelli Corner now and through Shark Corner, which, as we said to Braxy, has bitten a few this weekend.
It certainly has. Taparis had a bit of a moment there. There's young Nick Limington as well. He got a good start off of the front of this one. And they're right at the top of the second. Now we've got a faller. Can't see who that is. Number 53's gone down.
That could be Mason Coote.
Oh, no, that's not the start that he wanted.
No, sorry, that's, I think 53 was Mason Coote. Just looking back through this thing, 53 is in fact Mason Coote on board the ARC racing machine. So we've had our first caller, a faller at the end of Shark Corner there as they made their way back down the hill.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the dream start from Phillip Island didn't carry on so far here at Wakefield Park for Mason Coote, down already.
And it's Muldoon that leads from Collins and Taparis. Nick Limington backing it in to the final corner there, turn 10, the Yamaha corner. Doing a great job on board the Race Centre machine. And 5th position on the grid, Steve. That would be by far and away his best position on the grid in Supersport for not only the season, but also his Supersport career.
Yeah, definitely. He had a few big crashes a couple of years ago, and it took a little while to come back from that, but he's back to his best now. But look at young Ted Collins at the moment there, sitting in 2nd position. Sam Muldoon out front on these ZX6. 1 minute 20.1 flying first lap for him, first standing start. That's a pretty impressive lap time from a standing start.
Also a pretty sensible start from Tom Taparis as well. Thanks to High-Tech Batteries, let's jump on board at the start with Ted Collins and listen to the way that Next Gen Motorsport Saint Suzuki just hooked up and got great drive off the line. And this is where we lost championship leader Mason Coote on board the ARC racing machine with Giuseppe Scarcella having to take evasive action. Back to live action now, and is that Giuseppe Scarcella on board the 47 machine making his way up through the field? I think it is actually Giuseppe doing a good job there. He started a little bit further back on the grid. He was in 9th position, but he's been fast in all sessions so far this weekend. It's Taparis. Oh, he's going to try and keep it on track. Did a great job there. Late braking move into the final corner, trying to get up the inside of Ted Collins. But where has our leader, Muldoon, gone? He is not on track there at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like Muldoon certainly not in front. This is your battle at the moment. Taparis leads the race with number 5, Ted Collins. Sam Muldoon is falling down the time chute at the moment. He's had an off somewhere. We haven't caught that. But I just want to say, Phil, those guys backing it in on the first lap into the final turner at Wakefield Park, how impressive is that from these young guys?
It doesn't matter what lap it is, pretty impressive the way that they were doing it in the Yamaha R3 Cup as well. Tommy Edwards was doing it. Tom Taparis doing a great job as he makes his way through Shark Corner at the moment and down the hill. That was where Ted Collins had a big moment on the last lap, and that probably could have been where we lost our leader, Muldoon, as well. We're just trying to find where his bike is around the track because we can't see it at the moment, but Muldoon was in a clear lead and is now not out there on the circuit. Our race leader is Tom Taparis on board the Cube Racing bike number 7. The Saint Next Gen Motorsports machine of Ted Collins is in 2nd, and Nick Limington, the young South Australian, is up into 3rd place. But the fastest man on track on that 2nd lap, Steve, Jordan Carlson on board the 45 machine, the man that when I spoke to him this morning, he said he doesn't care if it's wet or dry, he's keen for a big performance. It was all about being sensible in the first few laps, and that's exactly what he's done.
Well, if you saw how Jordan Carlson rode at Phillip Island last time out in round 1, he certainly was riding on the limit, a little bit over it, and he's really good at saving situations that you wouldn't think are savable.
Well, looks like David Rees has been, says they've been able to get an exhaust. No, I think that might be the one from yesterday that's been repaired. He's battling there with Jimmy Broadbent on board bike number 56. So, of course, his dad, Tony Rees, is in contention to be the New Zealand Superbike champion for this year because they're still trying to sort that one out in the stewards room, I think. But good to see that they've made the way across the Tasman here, and Damon Rees putting in a good job here in very tricky conditions. But Nick Limington now has got a bit of company behind. Is that
Sam Condon?
Sam Condon, yeah, a very impressive rookie from the first round of the championship as well on board the Bike Biz Swan Insurance machine.
Yeah, Sam qualified in 11th position. He's worked his way up to 4th already, so you've got to think that he's on a bit of a charge at the moment. When we have a quick look at his lap time, he's also in the 17s. He's right behind Nick, who's just done his fastest lap of the race at 17.8. But Tom Taparis out front is on a mission.
Well, and that mission started here where he went past Ted Collins, Steve, and made a big move up into the final corner, the Yamaha corner. Got in a little bit hot and deep, and Ted Collins shoved it straight back up the inside on the Saint Next Gen Motorsports machine. But Tom Taparis was not to be denied. He got great drive out of the final corner and managed to get his way back past the Suzuki rider as they made their way down the YMF straight, having a great day out here in front of his home fans.
Let's have a look at Tom Taparis for a second, because, you know, you've got to remember that this time last year he was on a 300.
I mean, and he'd only just made his debut on a 300.
This is his second ever race meeting on the 600 here at Wakefield Park in the Australian Superbike Championship. He got knocked off in one of the races at Phillip Island. This is his home track, but that doesn't count for much. Everybody's had an opportunity to come here and test if they wanted to. Tom Taparis is doing a sensational job at the moment. Giuseppe Scarcella mixing it up there at the moment with Sam Condon just in front of him. Another thing I want to point out, Phil, I don't think that Giuseppe Scarcella's ever had a podium in this class before, and he's on a bit of a roll at the moment.
He's going extremely well, is Giuseppe, and he's been fast in wet and dry sessions so far this weekend, as well as he starts to close in on the back of Ted Collins. I think he's already disposed of Sam Condon on board the 46 machine. So he's up into third place now, is Giuseppe. And I tell you what, once he gets that Italian blood all fired up, there's no stopping him as he comes up the inside. Thank you very much, Ted Collins. I'll move into second place, goes Giuseppe on board the Kawasaki ZX6. And the bike that David Rees is riding is actually Giuseppe's old Honda that he rode last year.
Okay.
And this is only his second meeting on board the Kawasaki. So he's obviously pretty happy with the way the bike's going before. We saw him struggle at the first round at Phillip Island, Steve, with the brakes. He's got all those problems sorted now, and tell you what, he has been on fire all weekend. This is a great start for the first race of the day for Mobil Supersport for Giuseppe Scarcella. Well, you can almost see the webbed feet of Giuseppe Scarcella as he makes his way around the Wakefield Park circuit. This battle between himself and Nick Limington on the high-tech batteries replay, it shows just how close the racing was as the two of them diced their way around Wakefield Park. And once Giuseppe Scarcella had got away from the young South Australian, it was the turn of Queenslander Jordan Carlson to try and find his way past the very rapid R6 prepared by Race Centre. So as we come down to the dying stages of this race, they will get the last lap board at the completion of this lap, Steve. And it's going to be do or die last laps for both of these riders as they head off down the Yamaha Motor Finance straight.
Look at the pit crew on the side there. This is going to be an amazing last lap. Where's Scarcella going to try? You know he's going to try. He's doing it into turn 2. Up the inside. Can he tip in? He does.
Oh, just Tom Taparis stays on the outside. That was a risky move there from Tom Taparis as they get the drive up the top of the hill. Can Tom get back up the inside? No, Giuseppe's going to hold the line, and I think you'll find that he will lead them as they come out of Shark Corner and down towards the bottom of the hill where we know these Taparis up the inside. What was that, about one line through those corners?
Well, yeah, there's maybe 3 lines. It's an amazing comeback by Taparis. He's certainly got a lot of fight in him, but it's not over yet because Scarcella's still got a couple of spots to attack. We know he's strong here, but he's too far back. He's gone in deep. Maybe this he can take the inside line here. He doesn't do it. Taparis closes it down. One more opportunity in my book for him, and that's into the last and final corner.
And we saw how good Taparis was there with the bike sideways. The bike sideways takes up a lot of the track, and it's hard to try and get past as we were out onto the straight for the final time. Down into Yamaha corner. Tom Taparis got a good, clean corner entry there. I think he may be on track to take his win. Giuseppe's going to be over the moon with second place and racing for the lead. Oh! He's almost out of the seat. Is Scarcella. Tom Taparis was also out of the seat as well. But the Goulburn local will get to the line and take victory by 0.851 of a second over Giuseppe Scarcella. And what a last lap battle between the two youngsters there, Tom Taparis and Giuseppe Scarcella. In fact, it was so good. Let's have a replay, a high-tech batteries replay of this last lap as they came across the start-finish line. It was Taparis leading, but a big lunge on the brakes from Giuseppe Scarcella down into the Motul corner. Saw him lead momentarily as they made their way up towards the top of the hill, up the Yamaha Motor Finance straight. At this point, we thought Scarcella was in the box seat, but Tom Taparis, the Goulburn local, knows this track like the back of his hand, and he made his way past, and Giuseppe Scarcella was unable to find a way back past. He was out of the seat coming onto the final straight. Obviously having some problems there with his visor fogging up, but what a last lap from those two. Tom Taparis takes his first ever race victory in the Supersport class. Giuseppe Scarcella takes second, and Sam Condon, another youngster, up on the podium in third. Nick Limington, another youngster, in fourth place. Jordan Carlson, the Queenslander, eventually finished fifth, ahead of Damon Rees, our Kiwi visitor. Ted Collins, Aidan Hayes, Lincoln Gilding, and Grant Davis rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, that was a crazy race. Obviously really, really slippery out there, and a couple of riders crashed in the beginning, and you know, I kind of wanted to get away from it, so I got a bit of a gap, and now I'm just super stoked to get my first Supersport win in front of my home crowd. Yeah, it's just awesome. Thanks to everyone for coming out. I can't wait for the next race.
I just found out that we've done the fastest lap of the race. I got the speeches at the moment.
We love seeing this emotion from you.
Yeah, I got held up by another crash rider in the first lap, so which put me back a fair few spots, and then I just put my head down and smooth and fast, and done really well.
Sam, first race and third position. You must be rapt to be on that podium.
Yeah, look, we had a bit of a tough qualifying yesterday, but really happy to take the third. Was a tough race, slippery conditions, and I was just hoping the race would end. So really happy with the position. Just like to say a huge thank you to my team and all my sponsors. Thanks heaps.
Australia's a country that's produced a lot of stars, and it all starts here with these young guys. Motorcycling Australia and Yamaha have got together this year to create GP Juniors. Let's hear more from Martin Port.
The success of any sport is measured by its junior feeder program, and that's one area that MA is very interested to see grows and develops. Now, there has been a junior program in Australia, but unfortunately the fundamental framework of that program needed a little bit of tweaking. So Motorcycling Australia saw an opportunity to create a class that created equality across the board. It was very, very cheap to enter, and that was our main focus, and to really help the kids develop racecraft. We approached a few manufacturers and the opportunity was there, and Yamaha seized it. They came forward with a really, really good program, and the bike's now $4,500, race ready. It's a very, very cheap way to go racing in Australia. Look, we've pulled this program together with GP Juniors Australia and working with Mark Brax, and the opportunity has come to let that program feed into the ASBK for 3 rounds as a support category. But with the aim for 2018 that it's going to become a full feature of the ASBK Championship. The GP Juniors Cup has been designed for kids 12 to 14. Our aim actually for 2018 to have that age even brought down to 11. So I think that puts us in line with what the international stage is doing for junior feeder programs. The idea of this class is to see some future Australian champions move their way up onto the world stage. We had some very, very strong production-based programs back in the 90s, which created some very strong success for Australia. We're hoping this will work and fall in line with what the Europeans and the Asians are doing in the sense of bringing much younger riders to the sport.
Well, the GP Juniors are a great addition to the program in 2017. Let's have a look at the highlights of the second race for the juniors this weekend. The brand new class, the GP Juniors, and Tommy Edwards, the oldest and most experienced campaigner in this field, got a great start. You can see that he wasn't scared to get on the throttle early and got great drive off the line. But John Littras, the dirt tracker, came back very strongly on bike number 308 and went past Edwards on the 71 machine. But Joel Kelso on the JDS Moto machine was always there or thereabouts, and he made his way past Tommy Edwards and was on the back of John Littras as they came up towards the top of the circuit and made a big lunge on the brakes down into Yamaha corner on board their little Yamaha R15 machines with the production Bridgestone tyres doing a great job here in the wet, but Tommy Edwards getting a little bit too keen on the throttle and giving the Bridgestone control tyre a hell of a workout at the bottom of the fishhook. But Joel Kelso took the lead and led them across the start-finish line at the start of the last lap, with Tom Edwards very, very close behind on the Yamaha Motor Australia machine. Edwards shows that he's good on the brakes, but as they came to the line, Joel Kelso got the win, only just over Tom Edwards, with John Littras taking out third place, Ben Baker in fourth, Max Stouffer, and yes, that name does sound familiar, it's the son of the Australian Superbike Championship winner Jamie Stouffer in this class as well. You can see him there as race 3 got underway on board bike number 27 as they made their way down into the motor corner for the first time. Once again, it was Tom Edwards on board the 71 machine that took up the running at the front. John Littras on the 308 in second, and Jack Cousins, a real good performer this weekend, has shown a lot of style and a lot of class on board the 34 machine. little bit further back in the field. There goes Max Stouffer around the outside. A big move there as he got off to a slow start, Max, but started to make his way through the field as the race went on. Harry Curry also looking very confident in the wet on board the 04 machine. But John Littris, the former dirt tracker, obviously loving the wet and slippery conditions, put in a great ride to go past Joel Kelso on the JDS Moto machine and moved into second place. But it was all about the man out front, Tommy Edwards, who was clearing away from the rest of the field, leaving Joel Kelso, John Littris to have a great battle there with Max Stouffer closing in from behind on board the 27 machine. But Tom Edwards took the win by 13.8 seconds in a dominant display in race 3.
It was a really good weekend on these, the 150s, and fun, and all the boys got better over the weekend and everyone improved.
Well, let's have a look now at one of the other great support classes at the 2017 Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship, the Yamaha R3 Cup. These guys certainly are stars of the future as we see Jack Passfield on board the 42 machine lead them down into turn 2, the motor corner for the first time, with Jack Mahaffey on board the JDS Moto machine right behind. Tom Edwards, who we've already seen in the GP Juniors this weekend, putting in on a great performance on his Yamaha R3. But keep your eyes on all of these guys at the front. The racing was so close. Every single lap when they came around, there was not much between our lead group, with Passfield still leading from Mahaffey and Edwards, but coming up very closely from behind was Corey Briffer, who put on some great rides over the weekend on board the 23 machine. Look at him go up the inside of Tom Edwards there, and the battles went on all the way back through the pack. But the battle between Mahaffey and Passfield for the lead was allowing Tom Edwards on board the 71 machine to close in from behind. You can see they're having a big look behind, and not too long later it was Ty Lynch that arrived on the scene as well on board bike number 85. He had a massive moment at the top of the hill, and as they went through Shark Corner was still trying to get his composure back, but at the bottom of the hill he was the first of many to go down as the rain started to pour down, and then it was carnage all over the place, with Jack Mahaffey also going down on board the 37 machine as the race drew to a close. Chris Dobie, the editor of Australian Motorcycle News, managed to keep his R3 upright and put in a great ride on board bike number 31. But in the wet conditions, the man with web feet was Jack Passfield. He eventually took victory by 1.6 seconds over Tom Edwards, and Boyd Hocking on the 34 machine was 0.6 of a second further behind in third place. Join us on the other side of this break for all the action from the high-tech battery Supersport 300s and Motul Supersport classes.
It's always great to see girls in motorsport, and as part of the Supersport 300 category this year, for Team WNR is Laura Brown.
I started riding bikes just because of a friend got me into it, and then I started going around the track faster and faster. One of my mates convinced me that I should just try and do a race, get it on my bike with some fairings. Did a first club race, and then I was like hooked. I bought a 300 a few weeks later, and that was it. I was, goner. Over a period of 18 months, I broke 23 bones. It was a bit crazy. It was very painful. The most recent one being about 7 months ago, I broke my left femur and right foot. My plan is to win. I want to win, especially after doing well in Phillip Island. I know I just want to beat everybody, especially the boys. So that's a plan. My full-time profession is a veterinarian. I'm the head veterinarian of a clinic, so pretty much all I do is kind of work outside of motorcycle racing to get enough time to motorcycle race. It's pretty much my life at the moment. My wet weather, I'm not very good in the wet, so my qualifying was bad. I went from 30th to 13th in the first race because it was dry, so it was a really good race. I had to work my way up, and I'm still learning racecraft and everything, so it was a really good lesson for me. The more girls that get in it, the better. I always try and encourage girls to ride, and it can be intimidating when you first start because of all the guys and they're pushy and they don't care. But when you get over that, it's a lot of fun.
Well, welcome back to Wakefield Park and the third and final Supersport 300 race of the day. Been a great program for the Supersport 300s so far this weekend, and starting from pole position will be Billy Van Erd on board his KTM RC390, joined on the front row by the former Australian Moto3 champion Tom Bramage on bike number 44, and Jack Passfield on board the 42 machine with another Yamaha R3 on the front row of the grid. Tom Edwards, Reid Batty and Max Croker make up the second row of the grid, with Zach Levy, Yanni Shaw and Jack Mahaffey back on row 3. The lights are out. You see the concentration on Billy Van Erd's face as he blasts the KTM off the line, and look at the lead he's got as he comes down through turn 1 and into motor corner turn 2 for the first time. Reid Batty from the second row of the grid has just scythed his way up the inside and should be in second position as they drive up the hill, with Tommy Edwards right on his tail on board bike number 71. That was a big move from Reid Batty on 33.
Yeah, it was a fantastic move by Reid Batty. Brandon Demery got a good ride up the inside as well, so Demery got a great start, and he needs to, because he's lost his championship lead here this weekend, just a few points off. He can't afford to finish 10th again. He needs to make his way up. Dive up the inside there, what a great move.
Well, just looking at Tom Bramage, who didn't get the best of starts off the front row of the grid. Got himself a bit of work to do, and he's being pushed out wide on the entry or the exit of that corner there, and I think that's Passfield that's gone up the inside. Now Mahaffey is applying all sorts of pressure.
Guess who else is in that group? There's Max Croker as well. If you remember the race earlier today, he didn't make it out. He was caught with a rear tyre not mounted properly in the bike or something. He didn't get out, but he's out there and making up for it now as he heads around in the top 10 at the moment.
Well, Max Croker, how tall is he now? I remember when he first started racing, he was nowhere near that tall. He actually dwarfs that KTM RC390 machine. So you can see him try and fold himself down behind the paintwork. And also the bars on his bike look to be a whole lot wider than our second place man at the moment, Billy Van Erd.
Yeah, definitely, but you've got to say that Billy Van Erd's not the biggest guy in the world, is he?
No, and Mahaffey and Bramage. That's Tom Bramage having a really good battle there with Jack Passfield on 42, having the best seat in the house to see how close that actually was. As Bramage on the Ron Angel racing machine had all sorts of difficulty there with the young rider from the Northern Territory, Jack Mahaffey.
Yeah, I guess we've got to look at also Bramage, although he's an Australian champion, won the Moto3 championship last year, he's also a rookie to the class, so riding one of these things compared to a Moto3, a little bit different, and I'm sure that it's going to take a little bit of time to get him used to. There he is on the number 44 machine at the front of that group there.
Well, he's another rider that's done a lot of racing on a lot of different sorts of machinery. Watch out for the rider on bike number 87 too, Zach Levy, making his way through the field. We saw him come through the field to take victory in an earlier race today, and he is on a charge in this one as well, as he now tucks in behind the screen and blasts on down the very short Yamaha Motor Finance straight. Mahaffey's fairing, starting to move around there. Looks like that small collision that he had up the top of the circuit with Tom Bramage may have done some damage to the 37 machine.
There's Brandon Demery just at the back of that group there on the Deborah Racing machine as well, tucked in under the screen. He knows he's got a lot of work to do, but I'll tell you what, he's worked his way up into the top 10 already, and that's what he needed to do, because now he's got Ty Lynch just in front of him, the young South Australian, who's, I've got to say, Ty Lynch has had he hasn't shown so well in the results, but he's had a pretty good weekend. He's been up there with his lap times. One of the KTM riders is off.
Yeah, it looks like he's been able to get the bike up. Let's hope he can get it going again. You know, another ride that I was very impressed with was Ollie Bayliss in that race this morning. His ride to fourth position was very, very good, considering the amount of traffic that he had to deal with. And also that off-track moment for Ty Lynch, how he was able to keep that bike upright as he went sliding across the wet and slippery grass was an excellent demonstration of riding skill, as couldn't quite catch who that was that went up the inside.
Yeah, I don't know, that would whoever it was, they nipped past Tommy Bramage. I reckon it was Jack Passfield.
So look at that battle. Actually, it was 23, Corey Briffa, that made that big move there. And,
Briffed up the inside.
Yep, and unfortunately he's been relegated by Tom Bramage and also Brandon Demery, but he's got the better of Demery as they came down into Mogul Corner, and he's just slipped up the inside. So Bramage is leading the freight train up the hill. We say about Wakefield Park not being a place where you can slipstream. On the 300s, up that hill is actually somewhere where you can slipstream.
Look at Demery. He's on a mission here. You know, he's made another position pass. He's just got past Corey Briffa and up to 7th position. So he's certainly getting through them a lot quicker this time round. There's young Bayliss.
Well, look at Ollie Bayliss' style. You wouldn't think that this is only really his second year of riding on board the machine. Had a couple of outings last year just to test the water, but this is his first full-time appearance in the Supersport 300 class. He is an extremely fast learner, Ollie Bayliss, after making the transition from riding dirt track to road racing.
Most people, when they pick a number, they've got a reason for it. Their granddad had it or whatever. I asked Troy Bayliss today or yesterday. I said, "So Troy, why'd you pick 21?" He goes, "I don't know, no idea." So then I thought, right, I'll see what Ollie says. So I saw Ollie. I said, "Ollie, why'd you pick your number?" "Nah, I don't know, no idea." So
no one else had it.
Yeah, maybe. He had no idea where he picked it. It was free, put it on. There you go.
Or maybe he was taking inspiration from Cameron Donald.
Yeah, could be.
So top of the hill now for Brandon Demery, who leads this little group. This is the battle for sixth position, well, all the way back to about 14th or 15th position. Look at this massive conga line of riders, and Ollie Bayliss just puts a big move on. Was that Jack Mahaffey? I think he just went past. At the moment, though, this man has got a very clear lead. Over 2 seconds, Reed Batty has managed to pull out over Billy Van Erd and also Zach Levy on board the Puma RV's machine. So we've got an under 300 machine leading from, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of our over 300 machines. That would put Ollie Bayliss in 9th position outright in second place in the under 300 production class.
I don't think that Ollie Bayliss is the type of guy that discounts the bikes in front of him, and I know that that's what Troy says. He wants to finish on track position, and that's what he's aiming for. If that guy on that Kawasaki can be up front, Reed Batty, he wants to be in front of him.
Oh, look at the amount of lines, different lines coming down into motor turn 2 there. That was a big moment. That's Jack Passfield. He's gone down. I think he may have even bumped handlebars.
It's raining.
Oh, it is too. You can see the rain coming down there. The rain is also falling on our commentary box.
No.
That someone's had a massive engine there. Looked like the throttle was jammed open
the throttle jammed. Yeah, he's gone down on the right side.
Oh, they're all going down at the top of the circuit now. Rider on bike number 39. That's Scott Nicholson also going down. Oh, we've got people off everywhere. I think you'll find that race has been declared.
Bayliss is off too.
But I don't think he needs to worry because they'll go back to the completion of the last completed lap. Would that be enough to qualify for full points?
Well, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they probably won't restart this one.
And then once again, these changeable conditions at Wakefield Park where the rain seemingly comes from absolute nowhere, and you can see how quickly it came because it virtually caught the whole field out. Word coming through from the officials now. Race declared after 5 exciting laps for the high-tech battery Supersport 300s, with Reed Batty taking victory from Billy Van Erd, Zach Levy in 3rd place, and the final man on the podium. Jack Mahaffey took 4th, Tom Edwards took 5th, and Ty Lynch rounded out the top 6.
Reed, deja vu, good to see you on the podium again.
Yeah, thank you. What a bloody fabulous race. You know, it was pretty tricky conditions. Started off dry, then went like to semi-wet. But I stayed on all races and finished in a good position in P1, so very happy.
There are 2 separate classes in the high-tech battery Supersport 300 class in 2017. In the up to 300 class, Reed Batty leads on 140 points from Scott Nicholson on 103. Ollie Bayliss only 2 points behind in 3rd place. Then it's Yanni Shaw and Drew Sells rounding out the top 5. In the over 300 Supersport category, Billy Van Erd leads from Zach Levy, Brendan Demery, Tom Bramage and Jack Passfield rounds out the top 5, with Bramage and Passfield tied on 86 points apiece.
Growing up, my mum and dad said to me, anything you've got one of, you've really got to look after it. When I started racing, I remembered that advice and I bought the best helmet that money could buy because I knew I only had one head. Wayne, I know that you've been racing for a long time now and I know that you're smart enough to pick a helmet that is also one of the best. I see you've got Shark. Tell us why you chose that helmet.
Yeah, when I started racing, you know, same deal. I started off with the helmets technology was then with like ABS plastic, and I've seen the evolution of helmets over that long period. And now we have carbon composite helmet here with the Shark, and you know, not only is it light, much lighter than the old helmets, it's also much safer in the way material it's made.
I guess some of the other things that have improved over the years is the weight of the helmet. I mean, they're a lot lighter now as well, even though they meet the safety standards.
Yeah, absolutely. When you go to a track like Phillip Island, you're doing 300 plus kilometres an hour into turn 1 and you sit up from behind the screen, you don't want to have a 10 kilo weight on your head because it tries to definitely extend your neck. and that's also important as well as the shape of the helmet, the venting, and yeah, they're all important things to consider.
Yeah, talking about the venting, I mean, like obviously at some tracks we go to, it rains, and I mean, has the venting improved even in your short period of time to stop that fogging? I mean, the fogging of the visor must be something that if it happens, it can really affect your race.
Yeah, vision in the racing is unbelievable, you know, like especially if you go to a night race or something where it gets cold and the fog starts to come in. So, or today here at Wakefield Park where it's absolutely torrential rain, it's important to have clear vision and you know, not make any mistakes by hitting a white line or anything like that.
I guess the other thing I noticed when I was looking at the Shark helmet before is the padding on the inside. I mean, it seems as though you can personalise that. You can pull the pads out, clean them, basically pull the whole inside of the helmet apart.
Yeah, with the technology these days and the scanning that you can do, they can basically scan your head to the shape and then make the mould to suit, so you can customise it. So it's absolutely paramount to the safety of the helmet, and you know, an important part of the safety is a really well-fitting helmet. And for me, the Shark fits my head great, as well as meets all the other requirements that I need.
Now, I know a lot of riders in days gone by had really special helmets, but apart from all your sponsor logos that you've got on this helmet, is it the same as what I can buy off the showroom floor?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the padding's a little bit more customised to me, but you know, when you go into a motorbike shop, you can go in there and tell them that you want a Shark helmet and choose what's, you know, optional cheek pads or headliners or anything like that, and that makes it so it's an absolute fantastic fit.
So there you have it. We've heard from Wayne, and I'm telling you now, if it's good enough for his head, it's good enough for you and me.
It appears the weather gods have smiled and the weather is holding off as we get ready for the second and final Motul Supersport race of the day. The Suzuki may be the oldest bike in the Supersport field, but it's certainly been very rapid this year in the hands of Ted Collins, and Emma's down on the grid with him.
Yeah, Ted Collins, you finished in 7th position in race number 1. You'll obviously be looking to gain those positions pretty quickly.
Yeah, the race 1 didn't quite go our way. We had a few problems. We were sort of up the front towards the start, pretty comfortable, but had a few issues like towards the end of the race, which was pretty unfortunate. But no, I'm really looking forward to this. The track's dry at the moment, so really looking forward to get out there and give it our best shot.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm down here with Nick Leamington. Nick, race 1, great result today. How did it feel? You came through a little bit there and finished in 4th position.
Yeah, it was a really good race. It was very difficult with the wet conditions. This track is extremely slippery. It's like an ice rink, but happy to just not crash and just finish the race. So yeah, we're happy.
What about your start? Are you going to be able to get a good start from this position?
I reckon that's what we're hoping for.
All right, best of luck, Nick.
Sam Condon, I tell you what, you did really well getting your very first podium position in race number 1. Starting from back at 11th though, so certainly have to make your way through the field pretty quickly.
Yeah, look, we had a pretty bad qualifying, so it'll be interesting to see how we go in a dry race. We did fairly well in a wet race. I'm really happy with the position, but it'll be a bit harder this time around, but we'll see what we can do.
Good luck, Sam. Let's see what the guys are up to in the booth.
We are eagerly anticipating the start of this second Motul Supersport race of the day, Emma. Looking back at our second place rider in the first race, Giuseppe Scarcella. He'll start from the 3rd row of the grid. Tom Taparis will start from pole position. Mark Giotto and Sam Muldoon join him on the front row of the grid. Ted Collins, Nick Leamington and Chris Quinn on the 2nd row. Championship leader coming into this round, Mason Coote, is joined on the 3rd row by Jordan Carlson and 2nd place man in race number 1, Giuseppe Scarcella. On board with Mark Giotto as he revs the Triumph, ready to launch. Taparov's got a great jump off the line. Can he hold the drive though down through turn 1 as we see Chris Quinn get a good start on board the Holmes Extractive Resources R6, and Ted Collins once again, Steve, has got a fantastic start on board that Suzuki and was in 2nd place as they came out of Motul Corner and drive up the hill.
He certainly did. Sam Muldoon on the Kawasaki in 4th position got a good jump too, but Marcus Kyoto's just nipped through. But look at Muldoon up the inside, what a move. A bit of a moment there for Chris Quinn as well as they head through Shark Corner.
I think that was Mason Coote just shoveling it down the inside. Oh, Jordan Carlson, he's issuing birds all over the place. He obviously just got carved up by someone there early on in the race. Right behind him was Giuseppe Scarcella on board the 47 machine. And, well, he's in a lot better position than he was early on in race number 1, where he was off the track almost trying to avoid Mason Coote at that part of the circuit.
You know what? And he's also making his way forward as Scarcella. He's doing a really good job there to try and get past the 2 guys, Carlson in front of him. He's up the inside of Carlson and he makes the move stick.
Well, and here comes Rees on board bike number 20. The reigning New Zealand Supersport champion is up the inside at Yamaha corner and charging forward.
Now, like you said, Rees, although he's near the back, we're talking about him because he's never been here before, and he was right up the front of the timesheet, so he's definitely one to keep an eye on until that accident.
And I think that was one of the very first practice sessions as well, where he was at the top of the timesheet. So a few people were scratching their heads and thinking, what has this guy done? When he's going very, very well at the moment. As Mason Coote on board the 53 machine led the championship after the first round at Phillip Island. Had an unfortunate first race this morning, but he is charging hard in his first race on board the ARC Racing machine.
Do you know what, though? Actually, I've got the championship points. He's still our current leader at the moment. Even though he had a bad race in race 1 today, he's got a lead of 6 points over Ted Collins, who's just in front of him at the moment. So this is an important race for both of those guys, and Marcus Kyoto, who you'd have to say was probably going to be the favourite coming into this year.
Well, and also Sam Condon still placed third in the championship as well after some good solid performances at the first round. As Scarcella slides the bike into Yamaha corner with Jordan Carlson right behind him. I tell you what, if Giuseppe starts barging his way through the remaining riders on front, he could very well take Jordan Carlson on that immaculately prepared 45 machine right behind him. Nick Leamington not too far adrift as well. And look at Rees, he's on the back of this group now, Steve. That's a great first couple of laps from Damon Rees.
It certainly is a great result for him. And just look, the thing that I love when I watch this circuit is you just can see the way that the bikes, look at that, the bikes really have to work. The suspension's got to be set up so soft to absorb these bumps. It's a very bumpy circuit, and if you hit those bumps at the wrong angle, things go wrong very quickly.
Let's jump on board with Mark Kyoto as we look at a replay of the start. I know he's been working very hard on his start technique, and I think it's fair to say that he won't be wanting to repeat that one. He goes from second place on the grid back to about fourth position as they come through Motor Corner for the first time. And on a run up the hill, he got very aggressive. As you can see, he goes up the inside of Sam Muldoon on the Muldoon Motorcycles Kawasaki, tips into the left-hander. Muldoon comes back extremely strong on the inside, and the racing was as close as you like. Oh, back to live action now, and it looks like Sam Muldoon has gone down. Well, there's plenty of fierce action in this Supersport class. There is Damon Rees on board Giuseppe Scarcella's old machine. Oh, Mark Kyoto violently ejected from his motorcycle. That is a big, big crash. Geez, hasn't this circuit caught some riders out today? Oh, Rees has had another massive crash, and he's gone over the high side and down at the top of the circuit.
Let's hope he can get off. That bike is in the way there. Let's hope that could bring out a red flag.
Riders holding their hands up, and the officials are going to have to make a decision here as to what to do with the rest of this race.
Well, let's have a look at the first off. That's Sam Muldoon. He's changed condition. Just got caught up there in the Suzuki corner, and he's slid off out, so unlucky for him.
And then shortly after, two big crashes in very short succession. The first of them, Mark Kyoto on board the Repsol Triumph, crashed at the entry to the Pirelli corner. And then directly after him, Damon Rees on board his Honda CBR, crashed on the exit of Pirelli corner, both of them at top of the hill, and that caused a red flag stoppage. The rain is coming down, you can see. That's the reason why all of those riders were crashing. Let's go to a break and come back with the exciting conclusion of the Motul Supersport class. Welcome back, and we're getting ready for the second and final instalment of the Motul Supersport class. The riders take up their positions on the grid. We can see that the sun is shining, but the rain can't be too far away. Tyres have been the question all weekend. Steve Martin, what do you do?
I think that the right choice would be the dry tyres now, because not only is it spit with rain, but the sun's out now, and that we've got so much wind here that it just dries the track off instantly.
Ted Collins starting from pole position, you can see, and Mark Kyoto in second. But the big question is, where is the local man, Tom Taparis? We'll keep our eyes open. This is only a 6-lap race to the end to determine the race winner for the second and final Motul Supersport class race here today at round 2 of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championships. And Ted Collins, impressive in the first round, continuing that form on as he leads them up towards the top of the hill on board the Next Gen Motorsport Suzuki. He's riding well.
Absolutely. Nick Leamington got an absolute cracker of a start there up in second position. And look at the lead that they've pulled out already as they head through Shark Corner. Still looks a little bit slippery up there to me.
Tom Taparis is on a charge as well. You can see him going around the outside of a couple of riders at the top of the hill between Pirelli and Shark Corners. And
Look at Carlson
down the inside, foot off there as he gets it very late on the brace going up the inside. I think that was of Lincoln Gilding, who fights back. I know it's bike number 61, not 71 that he's managed to go past, but then had the favour repaid. And look at Nick Leamington getting the bike sideways into the final corner, Yamaha corner. We've got a couple of young men on a charge now with Sam Condon, also on bike number 64, the Bike Biz entries, trying to get up the inside of Giuseppe Scarcella. As we jump on board with Giuseppe on board bike number 47 now, as he blasts his way down the Yamaha Motor Finance straight, looking over our shoulder. Can't see Condon coming up the inside. And look at the brilliant sunshine now as the riders come down through the Motul corner and then drive their way up the hill. The exit of Motul corner, as we heard from Josh Waters, one of the most important corners because it sets you up for this long drive up the hill. Lincoln Gilding riding very well on board bike number 71, the former Australian Moto 3 champion, and he's right onto the back of bike number 61 now as well as they try to get up towards the top of the hill. That's Reece Belling on 61, has got off to a fantastic start.
There's Tom Taparis just at the back of that group of guys as well, trying to make his way back through the pack. Had to start from the back of the grid due to that the crash that he had earlier on. But Nick Leamington's doing a great job at hanging on at the moment.
Yeah, he's doing very well. And for Nick Leamington, every time I see him, he seems to have got a half a foot taller.
He certainly does, doesn't he? I mean, I've known him since he was 15 and he was, tiny, but you can't say that now. He's 6 foot tall, but he certainly knows how to ride a motorcycle.
Sam Condon up the inside of Mark Chiodo there on board the Repsol Triumph, bike number 12. Isn't it great to hear, though, the great tone of the Triumph three-cylinder machine, of course, 675cc capacity against the screaming 600cc fours in the Supersport class.
And that's the thing I like about this class. All the different manufacturers are represented. Yamaha moves up there in front of Marcus Chiodo, of course, Suzuki, Triumph and Kawasaki, the main ones. And then, of course, you've got the Honda there of Damon Reese, who's doing a good job as well.
Well, around the outside of Mark Chiodo as they drive up towards Pirelli Corner is Tom Taparis on board bike number 7. And he is really on a charge, as you mentioned, a lap or so ago. But he's... let's have a look at his lap times. On the last lap, he was actually... he actually wasn't that much faster than the riders around him, but he's managing to pick off and he's got a lot of traffic still.
Well, yeah, he did pass 2/3 of the field doing that lap time too. Look at that. Up the inside he goes, Tom Taparis, and another great manoeuvre by him.
Well, he's now got to try and find his way past the rider just in front as they come down. He'll get great drive out of here, and that is Lincoln Gilding that's in front of him as he makes his way down the inside. You can see the suspension working overtime. He was on the narrow line into that corner and couldn't quite get in there deep enough because he knew that he had to get the drive out of Yamaha corner and onto the straight.
I think he did, though. He's got a good drive out there onto the straight, and on the exit he got past Lincoln Gilding pretty successfully. Now he's got some clear tracks, so we'll be able to see what sort of lap times he can really do.
Well, Sam Condon followed him through, and then Lincoln Gilding gave him a lesson on how late you can use the brakes down into the Motul corner there at the bottom of the circuit as they start the run back up the hill, and has taken that position back off Sam Condon. Carlson once again doing a fine job on the 45 machine. Let's go back and have a replay of the start of this second 6-lap sprint to the finish. And the word coming through from the pits is that Tom Taparis had to start from the back of the grid because he came into pit lane prior to the red flag. He's coming up on the back of this group now as Lincoln Gilding, the former Australian Moto 3 champion, goes up the inside of Mark Chiodo. So Ted Collins has got a 0.7 second lead over Nick Leamington on the track at the moment, with Mason Coon salvaging back great points in the championship. Remember, he led the championship coming in, still led it at the completion of race number 1, and he's on track for a 3rd place finish here. And that's Damon Reese in 4th position at the moment. What a recovery if he's been able to get that bike back on track. And from where it was only not too long ago, I can't believe that he's actually out there because he certainly looked a bit dazed and confused.
I know he bought the bike second-hand just before the start of the weekend. I'm guessing on Monday he's not going to get as much for it as he paid for it.
No, it may have depreciated slightly over the weekend. And I'll tell you, a great ride here from Reece Belling as well on board bike number 61. He is on fire in this second leg.
I'll tell you what,
putting in a good ride here.
He's got a lot of skill. Look at him up the inside. He can really turn the bike probably a little bit tighter than Marcus Chiodo there. Looks like Marcus just got a better drive out there and down the hill. But Belling's definitely not giving up. Look at him on the brakes into the off-camber fish hook. Meanwhile, out front, Ted Collins has got a nice little break, about just on a second from Nick Leamington. Not comfortable, though, as they go into the last lap. Nick's got to give it everything he can.
And that's exactly what he's doing as they head up towards the top of the hill in the Pirelli corner. He comes through Pirelli, down through Shark now. As we've said, has bitten many riders this weekend. By far and away, Nick Limington's best performance in the Australian Supersport Championship on that Yamaha YZF R6, the race centre prepared machine. But at the moment, it's all about Suzuki and it's all about Ted Collins. He started off the season in great form and he's continuing that on here at Wakefield Park.
Well, you know what? Ted's been on the podium a couple of times, but he's never won a race. He's got one corner to go.
Well, congratulations to Ted Collins, because I don't think Nick Limington can claw back that distance, and all Ted Collins needs to do is successfully navigate this final corner and drive out onto the Yamaha straight. And you can see the applause there on pit lane. Do you reckon he's excited, Steve Martin? I think he might be, as he takes the win, as he greets the checkered flag from Graham Checkers Stewart. And I'll tell you what, Tom Taparis is going to come back with a great points haul as well, and he will finish, I think, in about 4th place, which is a good result considering where he was at the complete. Oh, Jordan Carlson all over the show as he drags to the line with Sam Condon and just gets the nod by 14 thousandths of a second, Jordan Carlson. But it's all about Ted Collins. He's sponsored by Saint Unbreakable, and that's exactly what he was in race 2, Unbreakable. Takes the win by 1.4 seconds over Nick Limington. Mason Coote, another good result for our championship leader coming into this round to score 3rd place ahead of Tom Taparis. A great recovery from the back of the grid. And Lincoln Gilding rounds out the top 5.
I can't believe it, like the first race we took the lead and I didn't know what to do. I was in the lead, I just kept pushing. And the rain came and we crashed, but we got back up before the red flag, luckily, and went back out there. I was a bit cut that we had to do a second part to the race, but starting on pole, I knew I could get a whole shot, and I just got out in front and didn't look back and pushed as hard as I could, and I'm so happy to come out with the win. The Next Gen Motorsports team and traction control suspension have done a great job. The bike's awesome. I just can't thank them enough.
First race was a bit of a disaster, just got held up on that. The first turn was down in 8th or 9th or something, so I'm really happy that race is red flagged. We got a second chance and ended up with 2nd place, so yeah, couldn't be happier.
Like I said last round, I wasn't expecting to be up here at all, and to be up here again, it's a real credit to Consent to Go and the ARC Racing team. They've got some amazing bikes beneath me. We've worked hard all weekend trying to get them, going in the right direction, and every time we hit the track we've improved. So to finish with the podium, I'm looking forward to next round. We'll be better there again. So.
Well, Mason Coote came into this round 1st place in the championship. He leaves Wakefield Park 1 point behind the new leader, Ted Collins. 86 to 85 points. Sam Condon has moved up into 3rd. Jordan Carlson 4th. Tom Taparis has moved up to 5th. Mark Chiodo, Nick Limington, Lincoln Gilding, Ben Burke and Ryan Taylor round out your championship top 10. Don't go too far away. The second race for the YMI Superbike class is coming up after this break.
Well, he may not be at the top of the field just yet, but when it comes to clocking out miles, Adam Senior has got the entire field covered. It's a very long drive from WA to Wakefield Park.
Yeah, I certainly have. It's about, probably 3,500 k's from Perth to here, so it's a good 36-hour drive. So yeah, it's a fair trek to come to a race meeting, that's for sure. At the start of the year, the plan was top 10 finish, but the championship's grown quite a lot this year, and with a strong field, top 15 now is for us is a good result. Today, we qualified 16th, and we got guys who raced in the World Championship that one place in front of us. So it's a very, very strong field this year. So anything in the top 15, we're happy with. He's kind of crew chief, mechanic, everything, he does. Prepares the bikes, drives the van over, along with mum and my sister, obviously, but dad's sort of the mainstay. I crash it, he fixes it. I complain, he fixes it. So yeah, he does pretty much everything for me. I think it's going to be hard. I think there's a lot of people that are probably possibilities to put on the podium, but I think each round's going to be different. Phillip Island, Eastern Creek here, all different styles of tracks. So I think each track, depending on bike as well, can sort of bring a different winner or a different place getter.
Getting ready now for the start of Superbike Race 2. The riders are on the grid. The track has been declared dry, and the huge crowd that have come out to watch Troy Herfoss this weekend are eagerly awaiting his next performance. He's had a race win, he's had pole position. What can he do in race number 2?
Yeah, this is the guy that everyone's been talking about this weekend, Troy Herfoss. He had a bit of a hard start at the start of that race the last time, but he still ended up on top.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to get out here and enjoy my pole position that we earned on Saturday. But yeah, really sketchy conditions in race 1, and you know it's dry at the moment. But I mean, you're standing on a wet patch here, and the clouds aren't looking too promising. So it's going to be a dry start, and we'll see how we go from there.
We look forward to seeing it.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Troy.
Thank you.
Wayne, I've got to say it's been a pretty topsy-turvy year for you, but you've come good in qualifying here. You qualified second on the grid, which is a fantastic starting position for you. Bit of a gamble on tyres in race 1, didn't work out for you. You've got the right tyres on now. What can you do?
Yeah, look, I think we've been strong throughout every session in the dry, and you know, I'm confident in the setup. So you know, the race 1's unfortunate because it's equally sort of as wet now as it was in race 1, and they've declared the track dry. So you know, they need to work out what they want to do and decide whether it's going to be wet or dry with the regulation, and then we can go from there. But put that behind us. It's yeah, it's go time here, and yeah, we're going to give it all we got and try to you know, break the momentum of Troy here at Wakefield.
Brian Starring, we know that the Hondas are strong here. You just were off the pace, just missing the podium in the last race.
Yeah, well, that was a tricky little race. I lost that one in the opening 3 laps there. I was a bit cautious after I had a fall in the final qualifying session there in similar conditions. Maybe a bit overcautious, but for a ride like that, I still got good points with fourth position. Just missed the podium, but anyway, look, we're 7th here on the grid. It's going to be a hard-fought, aggressive race, and I'm certainly ready for that. My CBO 1000's looking good, and Crank Protein should get me across the line.
Good luck as we get ready for race number 2 here at Wakefield Park. It's up to the boys in the booth.
Thank you, Emma. And if the tension was palpable down there on the grid in race number 1, it is even more so now with a fully dry track. The riders have not had a lot of dry track experience this weekend. Well, Troy Herfoss will finally get to enjoy pole position. Wayne Maxwell and Crew Halliday join him on the front row of the grid. Row 2 is Daniel Falzon, Josh Waters and Bo Beaton. The 3rd row, Brian Starring, Robbie Bugden and Kyle Buckley. 4th row, Australian Supersport champion Troy Gunther having his first year in Superbike, along with Matt Walters and Callum Spriggs. The next row, Michael Blair, Mitch Levy and Josh Hook. Great to see him racing back in Australia. Adam Senior, Corey Turner and Jack Baker take out positions 16, 17 and 18. 19, 20 and 21 is Brendan McIntyre, Aidan Coote and Nathan Spiteri, and Ashley Fleming and Hamish McMurray round out the 23 bike field. On the very short, bumpy 2.2 kilometre Wakefield Park circuit, this will be an exciting race. Herfoss puts the bike in gear, head down, eyes focused on the lights. The lights are out and we're away. Herfoss has gone nowhere. The bike must have jumped out of first gear. You can see him busily working the gearbox, trying to find a gear, and he is way back as they come down through Motor Corner, turn 2 for the first time. Herfoss, so lucky it was his teammate Brian Starring that saw that was the fact and has managed to avoid him, but it is Maxwell that leads from Crew Halliday and Josh Waters towards the top of the hill. Falzon is the next rider through, then Brian Starring on the first of the Crank Protein Hondas. There's Josh Hook on bike number 16.
Troy Gunther just in front of him as they head down the hill for the first time through this tricky part of the track. Speaking to Maxwell just before, he reckons the track's still damp in some areas, so these guys are going to have to be careful. Wide goes number 65, Crew Halliday, gives a little bit of room to the man in front. Maxwell, half a bike length's lead now. Josh Waters might be able to sniff a podium here too.
Yeah, it also looked like Bo Beaton got off to a pretty good start as well on board that Race's Edge Performance Panigale. Look at that bike wiggling around as he closes in on the back of Falzon down into Yamaha corner. And Bo Beaton's been all pumped up this weekend. He's been strong in the first round, but this circuit probably really suits the Panigale, and probably more so, Steve, Bo Beaton's aggressive riding style.
Absolutely, and if there's anybody that goes fast in the first 1 or 2 laps, it's Bo. He really does get out of the blocks well. Fantastic rider, and he's exactly where he needs to be now. He's got the fast guys of the Australian Superbike Championship right in front of him. Starring as well. Look at Starring, he's up there. Maybe he took the advice of you, Phil, and got a little bit more aggressive in the first.
Aidan Coote has come off at the top. I think that's like Pirelli corner, I think, is it, Steve? At the top of the circuit. Falzon having a bit of a look at the back of Brian Starring. I think that means that Starring has actually moved forward 1 position on that first half of the second lap, as they make their way back up towards the top of the circuit. Now, sorry, down through Suzuki corner and towards Yamaha corner. It is the duo of Yamahas that lead at the moment. Falzon. That was a big move on the brakes from a man that's won 3 Australian championships. In fact, I think Falzon and Brian Starring have both won 3 Australian championships.
Well, he ran wide, but watch fouls on because he's very strong on the front end into the middle of the corner.
High-tech batteries replay time from the start, and you can see Troy Herfoss there. The bike mustn't have been engaged fully in gear, jumped out of gear, and then Herfoss, I think he actually even selected second gear rather than first. He was so slow off the line and so lucky not to get cleaned up by the riders behind. And you can see him there just going backwards as the rest of the riders made their way down towards turn one. That was the end of going backwards for Troy Herfoss as he literally went through the field like a hot knife through butter. Adam Senior there squeezed up the inside of the Western Australian. Then it was Callum Spriggs' turn to fill the rough of the Governor of Goulburn as he made his way past the Ducati and then continued on scything his way through the field. And you can see Troy Herfoss just come into the back of the vision there as they were coming up the YMI back straight, so he's not too far off this lead group now. You'll see there's Robbie Bugden coming through and Troy Herfoss not too far behind. And they've got a little bit of clear track in front of them. The next rider forward is Bo Beaton.
Herfoss is 4.8 off the lead. Maxwell's really put in a fast lap that time round, 58.7 with clear track in front of him. And you compare that to the lap of Herfoss was a 59.2. So the man on a mission at the moment, Wayne Maxwell.
I think fastest lap from last year's race was a 57.4 by Wayne Maxwell. So not too far behind off those times, considering that's a somewhat wet track. Josh Waters, he got the back wheel out on the ripple strip there. It caused him to run a fraction wide, and Troy Herfoss said, "Thank you very much, I'll go up the inside."
Meanwhile, Herfoss is making his way through the traffic. These guys aren't backmarkers. Herfoss is on a mission.
Herfoss has just gone fast past the 5 times New Zealand Superbike champion Robbie Bugden. The next man up is Bo Beaton on board the Races Edge Panigale, and you can see how low Bay is on the brakes. He's going to be an extremely hard man to try and get past. Well, the Honda is not the newest bike out there, but what it does have is great drive off the corners and a great chassis, which allows Troy Herfoss to stay with Bo Beaton's Panigale down the front straight. You can see him there close up on the brakes as they come through turn 2 Motor Corner, and Herfoss is a master at using the attributes of the Honda CBR 1000.
Look at that up the inside. What a great move. He's not scared to throw it in over the bumps either. Those front forks working overtime through there as they head in the sharp corner.
Well, I remember Troy Herfoss had a massive crash at the entry to that corner years and years ago. Bike went end over end, but Herfoss obviously doesn't seem to be fazed by it as he went sliding past Bo Beaton up the inside.
Not only that, I think he crashed there testing a couple of weeks ago as well, so it hasn't slowed him down too much, has it?
He can obviously put it straight to the back of his mind and continue on like nothing had happened. And Troy Herfoss will now be up into 6th position and closing in on the back of Josh Waters. Well, I'll tell you what, if he's trying to make it exciting for the local crowd, he's done a great job here. And you can see there, once again, Steve, a graphic demonstration of how hard the suspension's got to work on that bike as he brakes hard over those bumps.
He's riding it so hard, though. He's riding in over the bumps that hard that the thing's basically just skipping like jumps over the top. He's, he's really putting everything into this.
Well, he has to, because he's got a little bit of catching up to do as he makes his way up towards the top of the circuit. It must be so hard to ride for Troy Herfoss with the whole city of Goulburn sitting on the ducktail of his crank protein Honda.
There's Bugden. Bugden, once again, I spoke to him before, and you know what? He's really impressed me this year. He's come into this championship, and he's making a name for himself. He's right up there in the points tally at the moment, and that Kawasaki is going to surprise a few people by the end of the year.
Well, I know that Kelvin and the team are working very hard with Robbie to try and extract the most out of the bike. He is, in fact, the leading Kawasaki runner at the moment, with Robbie Bugden sitting in 8th position. Not too far behind is his teammate Kyle Buckley, though, too, putting in a great ride. He would be the first of our rookies. In fact, Kyle Buckley, who's currently sitting in 9th position overall. But look at Herfoss as he tries to just wring the neck of that Crank Protein Honda. The other thing I think that is so important is, Steve, that the Crank Protein Honda is the oldest bike by a long way out there in this field. Essentially, that bike came out in 2008. It had a couple of updates with the SP model, which came out a few years ago. But Paul Free and that team, they have managed to eke every scrap of performance possible out of that bike. The way they work on fine-tuning the setup, they're talking micro-millimetres in the changes in the setup to try and get the best out of it. And both their riders at the moment starring in 3rd and Herfoss in 6th.
I want to talk under the radar for a moment. We haven't seen much of this, but look at that. Crew Halliday is closing the lap down. Privateer Crew this year on the YZF-R1, one that he's built. They've only had the bike for a couple of weeks. Is it right on the back and closing up to Wayne Maxwell, as is everyone at the moment. And look at Herfoss, he's closed that gap down too.
Did you see how aggressive Crew Halliday was on the brakes into the Yamaha corner? Had the bike standing out sideways, exactly like his teammate from last year, the Yamaha factory rider Glenn Allerton did on Friday, just before he had a massive crash and broke his arm in 2 positions, and unfortunately not here this weekend.
I don't know if you got shots of the grid, but I just shook hands with Glenn Allerton on the grid. He's here after his operation, a big pin put down his the bone in his forearm.
Yeah, he actually sent me a message before saying, I'm on my way to the circuit. You can't keep these guys away from the circuit. Probably watching these guys out here just as painful as his injury. Let's have another look at this drive from Troy Herfoss out of Modal Corner Turn 2, where he went up the inside of Bo Beaton into the Pirelli area at the top of the circuit. That was a great move. Bo Beaton also had to play second fiddle to Robbie Bugden, who got down the inside. Back to live action now, and it's Wayne Maxwell that still leads this race from Crew Halliday.
That man there, number 25 on the Cat Yamaha, sponsored by Slime, I might add. He actually got pole and 3 wins last time out at Phillip Island in round 1.
Well, they're already starting to get into lap traffic, and this could assist Troy Herfoss, and we know how aggressive he is with the traffic, dispatching them as he tries to make his way through the field. He's closed in onto the back of Josh Waters. In fact, on the last lap, Troy Herfoss did a 58.5, whereas Josh Waters did a 58.9, so he took nearly half a second out of Waters, and he's now camped on the back of the X-Star Suzuki through Pirelli corner. Both of these bikes on Pirelli tyres.
The issue that Herfoss has got now is he's got past the easy guys to pass. You know what I mean? Now he's got to get down to the fast guys. Josh Waters ain't slow, but Herfoss ain't hanging around. He's up the inside, pushed Josh a little bit wide, but that was nice and clean. Now he's got his teammate Brian Starring just in front of him, and I'm sure that he's been going to think of a way to get past him as soon as he can.
Well, a lot of these guys are so mild-mannered off the circuit, they pull a helmet on and they turn into raving lunatics.
There it is.
Herfoss up the inside of Brian Starring, but made somewhat easier there by the fact that Starring got a little bit late on the brakes. Back wheel was in the air, couldn't steer the bike into the corner, and Herfoss has had a relatively easy pass on his teammate. Josh Waters has come through as well on Starring.
Falzon's also doing some good lap times now, but that time through Herfoss, a 58.9, the only man in 58s. Look at that, Starring gets on the brakes, hits the bumps all wrong, bike goes up in the air sideways. Luckily for Herfoss, he goes through.
Yeah, and great drive from Troy Herfoss out onto the straight that time, but Halliday has closed right down onto the back of Maxwell now as they come down the YMF hill and into this very tricky left-handed corner at the bottom of the hill.
I take my hat off to Halliday. I've got to say it, qualified on the front row of the grid. This is no fluke result. He's had a really good weekend here, and he's coming to grips with that R1, which is, he's got a little bit of support from Yamaha, but pretty much doing it out of the back of the trailer. So a good result by Halliday.
Yeah, also his mum and dad, as always, Steve, here to support him this weekend, along with Chucker and Jeffro and the rest of the crew. As Crew Halliday gets right down behind that screen. But look at Herfoss. He could not get any further underneath the paintwork of that Crank Protein Honda down the very short front straight here at Wakefield Park. That's the important part too, is that we've said about slipstreaming at Phillip Island. There's really not much chance to slipstream on a superbike here at Wakefield Park, and there is no rest on that straight at all.
No, there's none at all, and there's only one focus while he's down there too, and that's the man on the number 47 Yamaha in front, Wayne Maxwell, who leads the field. He wants to catch up to him as quick as he can and get past him. I want to talk about the GSXR for a second while it's on screen. Still fairly standard. It's in its second race ever here in Australia, and it actually was the first GSXR 1000, the new model, to make a debut worldwide at Phillip Island at the start of the year in round 1. That bike is still fairly standard, so just because it's where it is now, as they get extra bits for it, we're going to see it definitely further up towards his front, doing a sterling job at the moment.
You can see how sideways Crew Halliday was there into the final corner once again, leaving big black marks on the Wakefield Park tarmac as he returned into Yamaha corner. Falzon's doing a great job though to hold off a rampaging Troy Herfoss at the moment. So Falzon sitting in third position, 1.2 seconds behind our race lead. But if Troy Herfoss can get past Falzon, I think the riders ahead will suck him forward, and it won't be long before he'll be up there and battling for this race lead.
Now this circuit, when you've got new tyres, is hard to ride, but when you've got old tyres, it's very, very physical. So that now we're just over halfway through the race. This is the point of the race where these guys' strength and the way that they've set the bike up and are able to muscle the bike around is going to show. And I mean, you can look at Herfoss, he is just not slowing down at all. He's going past these guys like they're standing still at the moment.
On board with Herfoss now as he comes down the YMI straight and into Yamaha corner. You can see how well the bike rides the bumps through the very bumpy corner, and the great drive the bike gets out onto the start-finish straight. Herfoss has got his head underneath the paintwork because he knows round one victor Daniel Falzon is right behind on board the very rapid R1. Daniel Falzon actually set his fastest lap on the previous lap, but he had to play second fiddle to Troy Herfoss on that one. Herfoss, I think, still the fastest man on track with a 58.4.
Look at Crew now. Crew Halliday's closed right up onto the back of the number 47. In fact, I don't know what you'd call that as a gap, but it was half a second over the line, but it doesn't look like half a second now. I think Halliday's getting ready to pounce. He knows that Herfoss is coming. These guys have lap boards as they go past that short pit straight, and on that lap board is information telling them what's happening behind him. And what Crew Halliday's seeing is Troy Herfoss coming. And when Troy Herfoss is coming, that means trouble.
Trouble with a capital T. T for Troy, T for trouble. And at the moment, Wayne Maxwell's got his hands full with Crew Halliday, trying to hold off the rider on bike number 65, who, as you said, Steve, is looking increasingly desperate to try and get past. Maxwell's bike starting to move around a bit as he gets on the throttle out of the Yamaha corner and comes down the YMF straight. On that last lap, Maxwell a 59.0, Crew Halliday a 58.7, and Troy Herfoss a 58.8. Daniel Falzon back into the 59s along with Josh Waters, Brian Starring. In fact, all the way back to Matt Walters, who's moved his way into 10th position, all in the 59-second bracket.
So that gap about 5 or 6 laps ago between number 47, Maxwell in front, and our champion Herfoss was about 4 seconds. It's now 1. So that's pretty impressive going by Troy Herfoss, isn't it? He's really close. Look at it.
Been able to chip away half a second pretty much each lap over Wayne Maxwell. The last lap it was only 0.2 of a second, but he also had to do it with Daniel Falzon at the same time and find his way past. And Herfoss now is closing right in. How fast was he out of Suzuki corner and down into Yamaha there as they come round now to complete the 14th lap of this 20-lap journey?
It's definitely not doing it easy though. Look at the way that CBR Honda's moving around as he gets on the gas way too early out of that corner.
Yeah, that's the thing about the Honda with that friendly power delivery.
Absolutely.
As you said, he can get on the gas a couple of metres before the Yamahas.
And you can see it there. There's a perfect example. He just did it out of turn 2. He made up a couple of bike lengths on the gas because of the easy power delivery and the skill of Troy Herfoss himself.
Now, what does Herfoss do now, Steve? 15 laps, or on the 15th lap of the 20-lap journey, he has had to ride incredibly hard to get to this position behind Maxwell and Halliday. Does he stop, have a rest for a lap or two, or does he just try and find his way past as quickly as he can?
I'll tell you what he's going to do. He's going to get past as quick as he can and beat them by as much as he can, because this is a mind game. It's not just about winning this race. It's a long year. He wants to say, hey, this is my track. I'm getting past you. I'm doing it easy, and I can beat you by as much as I can. So that's his plan. He's not going to sit there and bang, looks to go up the inside, but not so easy.
You can see there, you can see the steely glaze. Oh, Herfoss through the clear visor of his bell helmet as he had his eyes seriously focused on the back of Crew Halliday's machine. Probably lost a 10th of a second or two on the drive out of Yamaha corner there as they come down now through Motul corner to begin lap number 16.
The drive he gets out of there is incredible. He really got, a little bit different line to everybody else there, but he can get on the gas nice and early, and that couple of tenths that he lost he's made right up again. Now, I think he's struggling to find a way through though. Like Crew's looking to get past Maxwell, who's no slouch, and in fact Maxwell's just pulled a bit of a gap now.
And this is where the areas where
there
Troy
he goes
Herfoss
on the
is very
inside.
strong. Oh, that was late. There wasn't much room there, but Herfoss was able to just shoehorn the front tyre of the Crank Protein Honda through up the inside of Crew Halliday, up into second place now, and he has his sights set on his former teammate Wayne Maxwell.
Yeah, it's not going to be long now, but one thing you can be assured that this man that we're looking at on screen now is not going to settle for second. He's going to go for it.
I don't think Troy Herfoss ever settles for anything other than a race win. In fact, all of these guys are pretty much the same ilk, aren't they, Steve? They never want to finish second. And Herfoss, that was a clinical manoeuvre that he put on Troy Herfoss.
Did you see that? Crew just had a bit of a look over at him while he was doing it too, so he didn't see that coming, but it came.
These riders are pushing at 100% every single corner. Oh, that's Halliday. Looks like he has crashed out of third position. The bike takes a tumble. Halliday's down on the entry too. It looks like he's just lost the front, Steve. The massive skid mark across the circuit there. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's the end of the race for Crew Halliday, who looks like he may have hurt himself in that incident too. Like as Herfoss goes down the inside of Maxwell to take the race lead.
Amazing move. He made that stick last lap on Halliday, and he's made it stick this time on Maxwell. But keep an eye on Maxwell. He hopefully has got something left in the bag to take it to him now. Aidan Coote's coming up.
Well, down into Yamaha corner, Herfoss I like it when there's sun shining, but I also like it when the sun isn't shining and we get to see the clear visors and you can see... red flag. That's because Crew Halliday's bike is in an extremely dangerous position there. And with only minimal laps to go in this race and the red flag coming out, I would not be surprised to see the race declared. Let's have a replay of Crew Halliday. Yeah, just lost the front big style as he got towards the top of the hill and unfortunately crashed out onto the infield. Let's go on board with Troy Herfoss now. That could have been the race-winning move, but unfortunately I think that red flag stoppage will mean that it was just a little bit too late for the governor of Goulburn to take the race win. There you go, race declared, the official word coming through now. So that means that we will go back to the completion of lap number 15 and Wayne Maxwell will take the victory from Troy Herfoss. Crew Halliday, of course, excluded from the results, promotes Daniel Falzon into third place. Another great podium for the South Australian privateer. Josh Waters will take fourth, Brian Starring fifth, Robbie Bugden sixth, Matt Walters seventh, Kyle Buckley in eighth.
Wayne Maxwell, well done. It had a bit of everything in that race, but you ended up on top.
Yeah, look, it absolutely did. You know, I seen off the start that Troy had a bit of an issue, and I thought now's my time to capitalise and just try to settle in the rhythm, just +0 every lap. And yeah, I got to about lap 16 or whatever, and I seen it play +0 TH, and I knew I had a fight on my hands. And he came by, and just after that, the red flag came out, and yeah, lucky to get away with that win there. But the guys at the Yamaha Racing team have been working super hard. So many changes behind the scenes, and yeah, we're super happy to come out here with a race win, and really our first race win of the year, and hopefully it's the start of the pipeline towards rolling on to Winton.
Daniel Falzon still leads now on 106 points, but Herfoss has surged back into contention on 93 points, only 13 off the championship lead. Bugden third, Maxwell in fourth, Brian Starring in fifth, Bo Beaton is in sixth position on board that Racer's Edge Panigale. The top 10 rounded out by Josh Waters, Mitch Levy, our leading rookie, in eighth position, Crew Halliday and Kyle Buckley.
Tough race, bit of a bobble there at the start and had to come from behind. But yeah, our pace was good in the dry. We knew all weekend and just kept calm and tried to make the passes stick and no mistakes on the way through the pack. And just got a bit unlucky there at the end, 3 or 4 to go, there was a red flag. Just after we happened to pass for the lead and went back a lap and gave Wayne the victory. Both Wayne and all the guys rode good anyway, so it was a good finish to the weekend and really happy with the Crank Protein on the team.
There is plenty of two-wheeled action coming up for motorcycle enthusiasts in April. First up, we have the Yamaha Australian Off-Road Championships at Dungog in New South Wales, then the FIM Oceania and Australian Speedway Sidecar Championships at Gilman in South Australia, and of course the 2017 Shannon's Insurance Broadford Bike Bonanza that involves all disciplines of motorcycle action. There is plenty happening all around the country thanks to Motorcycling Australia.
Well, that wraps up the second round here at Wakefield Park. And I tell you what, Steve, there were red flags, there were restarts, plenty of wet conditions and sunshine. We've seen it all.
It's been a really mixed bag this weekend, and I wouldn't have wanted to be a competitor out there, but one thing's for sure, it certainly made some great racing to watch.
And there's been certainly some epic battles. We look forward to seeing those battles in Winton too, not too far away.
I can't wait to get to Winton because it's a track similar to this in many ways. It creates close racing, and after a day like today, I can't wait to bring that on to the next round.
We look forward to seeing you at Winton. Thanks for watching. See you then.